our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to another episode of the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. So if you're just listening in for the first time, I want to invite you to catch up on what we've been going through over the last 5 weeks in the prosperity experience. Week 1 was creating your prosperity roadmap. Week 2 was understanding and identifying your money blocks and fears through the money saboteurs. Week 3 was creating your empowering money story. Week 4 was, what was week 4? It was attuning to the frequency of wealth. Week 5 was attracting through the embodiment of receiving. And here we are on week 6, how to amplify prosperity consciousness through your money love language. All good things that many of my wonderful coaching clients helped me to see and understand, which is how I created this course. It was really interesting. And in 2020, and I had quite a few clients come to me that had tripled and quadrupled their income. And even though I'm not a money coach, I was like, what is that about? Like, if they're doing it, why am I not doing it at the time? And then I ended up walking into a very financially challenging year through a business partnership breakup with the story, which I had shared before. And I started to really dissect like some of the things that were coming through in sessions and then what I was noticing. And that was how I created this course. And one of the things that I noticed is that money has a love language too. So if you've never gone on a date with money and actually spoken to money in the way that you would a person, because it's an energy, we can have a conversation with it. We can tell it how we feel, and we can actually start to see that we have a love language, or maybe there's a lack of love with money, just like there is anything else in our life, just like our health, our body, our loved ones. It's the way that we show up in a relationship, which is what we're going to talk about this week. So again, I want to invite you to check out the Soul Wisdom Imprinting Method, because the 6 steps that we have been talking about that are part of the Soul Wisdom Imprinting Method, which is awaken, align, attune, attract, amplify, and alchemize, which we'll be getting into next week, can really be applied in any area of your life. It's a 6-step process that helps you to align to the frequency, the energy of your soul truth, your purpose. Doesn't mean it's what you do, so don't confuse what you do in the world with who you are, because those are 2 very different things. But I will say that when your passion and contribution to the world align, it is a place where abundance and joy can really come in easily. And sometimes the passion isn't in what we do, but it's how we show up in the thing that we're doing. So yeah, something that was just kind of coming through for me right now that I wanted to share with you. Also, we're going to put some links to an abundance meditation and a joyful inner child meditation in the show notes as well. Because why not, right? I have a library of, I think, about 22 meditations. I also do have a meditation bundle gift that is complimentary on jenmons.com on the first page. I think maybe both of these are a part of that, but I do have a lot more meditations where that has come from, and have a prosperity prayer that was on the podcast in January of 2020, I believe, and I think it might have been episode 85. Don't quote me on that, but we'll put that in the show notes as well. So all kinds of gifts, because last week we talked about the embodiment of receiving. So this is your chance to receive. I'm also going to share some podcasts that I've done on abundance. What's the difference between abundance and prosperity? I guess we could start there. For me, and I'm not using the Webster Dictionary definition, right? But to me, the energy of abundance and prosperity is very different, because abundance is about receiving, which is great. Prosperity is about stepping into and taking ownership and taking up more space in the cycle of giving and receiving. So it's when we really take ownership and say, I want to take up more space in the world. I want to be resourced more. I want to receive more so that I can continue to show up as the best version of myself. So through 5-element wealth, I'm nourished. I eat healthy. I move. Maybe I journal for my mindset. We'll drop the link for an opportunity to join us with daily journal prompts in the show notes as well. You can get that journal on Amazon, 13 Moons to Daily Devotion. I'm growing spiritually. And then the 5th element to wealth, to well-being, is the financial piece, where we get to receive and be resourced in that way so that we can create a bigger impact in the world. In my own business, it's allowed me to create life-changing, amazing experiences through retreats for hundreds of women. It's allowed me to, because that's creating a retreat, like if you're not familiar or haven't ever done that, it's a really big risk. It's a big financial commitment that takes a lot of trust. During COVID, I certainly, lost money on retreat that had to be canceled in Peru and was supposed to do another one in Bali. So, think of this when you're also attending a retreat, just to be super grateful, because a lot of time and effort and risk can go into creating that experience for people. But that's why it's important for me to be resourced financially so that I can continue to create opportunities for other women to grow, heal, and expand and prosper in their own lives. So we stop making about us, and we of course, we take care of ourselves and we honor ourselves, but we realize that in the big picture, it's about the collective consciousness. And so that's what we're talking about today, is amplifying prosperity consciousness, which is on a collective level. And I guess what I would say to that is, if you don't know by now, there's probably some type of collective wound around money that you're carrying, and it's really time to release that and step into prosperity consciousness so that we can shift the availability of that in the world. Like, we're not serving ourselves or the world by carrying these collective wounds around money. And that's why I decided I had to work through quite a few things to get the courage to really talk about it on the podcast, because it really truly was never something I really valued. I always believed I had what I needed, whether it was a lot or a little. It's almost like the overly abundant mindset can also be a shadow. And it's being okay with like kind of mediocre rather than being curious about what's possible. And I really had to do some work to shift that. So yeah, it's lots to unpack there. And today we're going to get into your money love language. So just as a recap and review, week 2, we talked about the 7 money saboteurs: the people pleaser, the martyr, the fixer, the victim, the tyrant, the free spirit, and the saver. Okay, so hopefully by now you can identify yours that I guess would equate to sort of the collective money wound that you're carrying around. And we also talked about receiving blocks. Now, we didn't go through in detail the receiving blocks like we do in the prosperity course. We have a whole booklet on different types of receiving blocks and money blocks. There's like 100 listed there that are divided up into categories that could be words that you hear yourself say, kind of like when your ego comes in to keep you small. But for the most part, we're talking about overwhelm, avoidance, and indecision and procrastination, things like that. And over the past few weeks, we've talked about how we have 4 basic needs. We have emotions related to money, because money is really just a way that we want to feel, and life force energy creates prosperity. So really getting clear on clearing the blocks so that we can have more life force energy, and getting clear on how we feel and how we want to feel based on what we need. So some of those needs, just a recap over the last 5 weeks. Again, listen into those podcast episodes if you're new, because it'll start to flow better if you have listened to all of them. But need for safety, need to be loved, need to be supported, and the need to feel good enough. We also covered in weeks 2 and 3 attachment styles, which attachment style theory you're probably familiar with. It's not something that I created, but I realized that all of these methods that are in place, that are tools to teach us, they also apply to our relationship with money. So there is secure, insecure, which can also be avoidant, dismissive, anxious, and disorganized, which is the fearful, avoidant. So understanding your attachment style is really healthy in helping to bring clarity around your relationship to money. So love language. Now, all of these tools we'll put links to. I can't take credit for creating these tools. What I've done is I've recognized that these tools are helpful in understanding our relationship to money. And so love language is another one. If you can go to 5lovelanguages.com if you haven't read the book yet. It's a wonderful way to help facilitate healthy relationships with other people when you understand what their love language is. Now, my love language is quality time. My husband's is physical touch. My older daughter's words of affirmation. My younger daughter is quality time. And, I know everybody's love language because it's important to know. I like to ask my clients, what's your love language? Because a lot of times what we do is we give love in the way that we want to receive it. Really thriving relationships give love in the way that they want to receive it. So I always thought that was really interesting, right? Because the golden rule is treat people the way you want to be treated. But really, I guess we could say the platinum rule is to treat people the way they want to be treated also, or at least loved in the way they want to be loved. So the 5 love languages, what I have found, translate across to our spending style. There's quality time, gifts, acts of service, praise or words of affirmation, and physical touch. So let's break these down one at a time. We'll start with my favorite, quality time. A healthy relationship with money, with the love language and quality time, is that you are intentional with money. Remember in week, I think it was 4, attuning to the frequency of wealth, we started talking about do you budget? Do you invest or spend? really being intentional with money coming in and money going out. Can you hold on to money? Can you let large amounts of it sit in your bank account? Well, in an unhealthy way, you could be the saver if you don't invest in anything. But if you're somebody who spends unconsciously, then holding on to it or holding it for a period of time to really consciously choose to invest is a healthy way to have quality time. Are you discerning? Healthy discernment with money. So in other words, again, there's the episode of, are you a conscious investor or unconscious spender? I can't remember what episode that was, but we'll put it in the show notes. Are you in creator consciousness or consumer consciousness is another way of looking at it, right? It's a totally different energy. Are you conscious or unconscious in what you choose to put your money in? Because it's an energy. Again, it's an energy that says this is what you value. So if you're spending a lot of money on alcohol every weekend and going to raging parties, you're basically saying that, I value not valuing my health, kind of thing. And there's so many things around that, right? Like, is that really quality time? Is that really good for your health? But can you have connection without that, Quality time is that you're open to receiving. You're open to receiving support, abundance, compliments. You have balanced spending and saving. So you have goals and intentions around that. You're able to generate, bring in, receive, and save. You value time and money. So your schedule and your credit card bill directly reflect your values. You don't hear yourself saying, I'm busy, or I don't have time or money for that, because everything is quality here. You're in integrity with your word, right? Like the quality over the quantity. You invest in yourself and in others. So if somebody's love language is a gift, then you buy a quality gift, not just whatever's on sale. You allow your intuition to guide your financial choices. So for my manifesting generators right here, sacral authority is what I use because I'm a manifesting generator with sacral authority, where when you practice it, you begin to notice like that sacral chakra that we talked about in the embodiment of receiving is where prosperity is. We can begin to practice and align to our intuition from our sacral. So rather than, like I shared with you several times, rather than like a wounded heart, which led me into creating this course in the first place because I entered a unhealthy friendship business partnership that created a lot of loss. That decision was being led by kind of the wounded place in me who was seeking connection in an unhealthy way through business partnership. So yeah, just getting really clear on like, this takes a lot of practice. Discerning, healthy discernment and healthy intuition from your healthy self versus your ego. If you're aligning to your intuition, which is the place of trust. So there's no scarcity, there's no blame, there's no projection, there's no, in the energy of intuition. So the unhealthy quality time, I guess, love language is unhealthy when you're unable to hold on to money. So you have to immediately spend it. Then there's no quality time there. You're not spending time with the money. You receive it and it goes right out. You want to hold it like a sacred container, energetically or physically, whatever works for you. If you struggle with this, I would say get a bunch of cash and hold it physically. If you struggle with saving or holding on to money, that could be something that you do. But you're not spending time with it if you're spending it as soon as it comes in. So just kind of notice, do you spend it as soon as you receive it? Are you always looking for a way to spend it? I noticed this in my business a couple years ago because I'm a quality time love language person, that when my business started to really take off and my income kind of quadrupled really quickly, that I would be like, okay, I need to immediately invest in that next coach, or I need to invest in that next thing. And then it was interesting that I did the opposite, and all of a sudden I had a large amount of cash flow in my bank, which ended up going to, it's almost like because I wasn't using it to grow my business, It ended up being used in a way that I didn't want to, and it ended up turning into a financial loss, which is, it's just so interesting to me that if you don't know where it's going and you don't know why you're earning it or what your goal is to buy a house, to go on vacation, if you don't have that, then that's kind of saying like, I don't value you. I don't even know what I'm going to do with you type of thing. So that's why this is important. Unhealthy does not create money wellness goals. Unhealthy quality time has an imbalanced spending and saving and likely has debt. Unhealthy quality time has little connection or intention with money. Does not value time or money, even through their words, spends impatiently or emotionally, gives time away freely without charging, is avoidant, and when it comes to the saboteurs, is likely a people pleaser or a martyr. So they probably spend and then have regrets after that. If your love language is gifts, when it comes to money, in the healthy place, you choose quality over quantity. You do not splurge, but you allow for intentional rewards. You're very thoughtful with money. You feel and sense the quality of the product. So, flying first class, buying a nice car, sleeping in soft sheets, organic cotton because it's important to you, type of thing. You don't overbuy or hoard, so you don't buy something because it's on sale or there's a coupon. You're very quality over quantity from a tangible place. You give from a place of overflowing with no expectation. So this could be giving to charity or something that you believe in. Unhealthy would be clutter. Sort of like having 3 of the same thing. Physically, it could show up, right? Like, this thing's on sale, I'm going to buy 3. You overbuy. You're not thoughtful or intentional with your money. You might choose quantity over quality. I've got the coupon, buy one, get one free type of thing, right? Coupon clipper. Gives but does not receive well. So you might buy the gifts for people. They may or may not be thoughtful, but you don't really allow yourself to receive, like gifts or support or anything. You spend for an expectation of something in return sometimes. So you're the person that's putting an expectation on a result. You're the person who, again, it's a way that we give our power away when we have expectations on other people. You might be the people pleaser, the saver, or the tyrant. Because physical image could be important, physical tangible gifts, which is usually the tyrant. If you're unhealthy, it could be the people pleaser who's kind of, buying things for love. And could be the saver in that, like, you never buy anything. So you either overbuy or underbuy. Like, you don't buy anything if you're not receiving. Love language money number 3, acts of service. In a healthy way, you give consciously according to your values. You give consciously according to your values. You probably support others in their gifts. Like, acts of service is not my primary love language, but I do, it's number 2 for me. And so, like, for example, in my coaching programs, I love to support other women and pay them to do things that they are good at, that there's, for example, human design and soul contract work. I can do that, but I love to pay a beautiful woman to do it for me. I love to pay another beautiful woman to come in and teach an embodied feminine movement class. I could easily do it, but I also love to support other women. I love to have guest speakers come in and in our group coaching circle to teach new things. Just something that feels really good. So you invest in other women, or people, I should say. You support organizations or charities that you believe in. So you're very mission oriented. You invest in yourself and others. You feel and sense the quality of the product. So again, quality over quantity is healthy. You put your money where your values are. So you have a really clear, like, you're in integrity with your word and your values. You invest in the support you need. So you value acts of service. This would be somebody like me, like a coach, right? A coach or a healer. I've never not had a coach or a healer in probably 15 years. I probably went maybe 8 months at one time, but I've always had a variety of people, an entourage, because number one, I love to support other women doing their thing. Number two, I love to invest in my well-being because I've lost my health, so I know the value of it. And number three, I'm a coach and I believe in coaching, and my clients get amazing results. And when I have a coach, I do too. So you invest in the support that you need. So it could look like a massage, a facial, acupuncture, healthy food, a coach, a teacher, a mentor, a personal trainer, somebody to help you write your book, a book coach, a money coach, a relationship coach, whatever that is. You know, because you value acts of service, that you invest in people who give you their act of service because you're willing to receive that as love in acts of service. Anybody who's a teacher, a mentor, or a coach, or a healer is in acts of service. They give of their time and services from a place of love. That not everybody's into that. I've had so many people just, be like, how do you do what you do? Why do you care about other people? And it's just like, that's just kind of my second love language, like quality time and acts of service. I know not everybody does, but I do. So here I am. You value time, freedom, and support. You allow yourself to receive, and you balance the value of money. So again, investing versus spending versus saving. Really good balance. Unhealthy acts of service would be you put too much value in money. You're not thoughtful or intentional with money. You overwork. So the shadow of acts of service is you overwork. Earning and generating more than receiving. Ooh, I've had a lot of women in my circle like this. Yep. Hustle, grind, overwork. And the thing is there's some misalignment in that. If you're in alignment and you let go of the overwhelm and the hustle, that creates clarity, which creates the attraction of abundance and receiving, because it's clear. And it's like it's just like anything in nature. Like you just know that's where you're supposed to go. So the unhealthy is the busy and the overwhelmed. Attachment style is very anxiety attached. They're blocked from receiving support or money. I've had this happen a couple times, and it's really hard. Not really hard, I guess, because I've been doing it for a while. But, as a coach, sometimes you just have to, or as a parent, as a friend, we have to love people where they are. And every once in a while, I'll get this potential amazing client that I'm just thinking like, I'd really love to support that person. And they just can't get themselves out of their busyness and overwhelmed to realize that the thing that they need is support, but they can't say yes to it. I've had that happen a couple times, and it's sad, but it's also like, well, it's just where that person is, right? Like they're just not ready to receive. So just knowing, like, does this happen for you? Are you so busy and overwhelmed you can't receive support because you can't receive the act of service? You're blocked from receiving support, money, and probably love and intimacy. You might be the overgiver, the martyr, or the fixer when it comes to the money saboteurs. You overgive of your time because it's acts of service, where you're trying to fix and take care of everybody. Maybe you barter in your business, you trade, and if we're being real, it's not an equal trade. You trade time for money. So, maybe you charge by the hour rather than the transformation, which in my coaching business, I don't charge by the hour. I don't, because I don't believe in that. I just, the value is priceless, really, of transformation. And so an unhealthy acts of service won't charge or own their worth or time or value. So this is like the wounded healer who's not charging enough. Supported quite a few of those women into really owning their worth in their businesses as well. All right, let's get to the fifth one, which is praise or words of affirmation, the healthy relationship, money, love language. If it's words of affirmation or praise, it shows up when you give gratitude for all your financial income. You're in the practice of like just writing it down, being grateful. No praise is too small. Like it could be $2 of interest and you're grateful. You receive compliments very well because you're really good at receiving, especially compliments. You celebrate and acknowledge personal wins. You reward yourself when your goals or intentions are met because you like praise. You intentionally track and are grateful when receiving and spending. So it's always like never forgetting the gratitude, always being in the place of gratitude, which of course opens you up to more abundance. You negotiate a raise, your worth and income. I love this one. I've supported several women in doing this who've chosen to stay in their current corporate roles as executives into asking for more money and then getting it and more time freedom. It's a wonderful thing. Because the answer is no if you don't ask. And, there's some self-worth and speaking your truth to unpack before we can get to the place where we do that for some of us. We hold others accountable for payments owed. Yeah. So again, we don't give away freely, right? Like we hold a healthy boundary. We speak the truth with money. So in other words, we don't say, I just don't have that money. We just say, it's just not a priority for me at this time. That would be the truth. It's not a priority because I've seen over and over that if you really want something, people find a way to do it. Again, when it comes to the opportunity to spend something versus looking at where is this money going to come from, shifting to how can I open up to receiving this income to come in so that I can pay for this, which is really empowering way to shift that. The unhealthy love language of praise or words of affirmation is when we're not grateful for the income. We just expect more. When we don't speak up when we're mischarged, or, we don't get the dinner we ordered at a restaurant. We don't ask for or negotiate for a raise, even though we know that we're worth it. We're not truthful with money and we're out of integrity, so we use it as an excuse as to why we can't do things. But we're really not speaking the truth because we don't believe in what is possible. When it's really unhealthy, this person can be delusional and feel disconnected. They have a hard time asking for financial help when it's needed. So sometimes they can spiral into debt and have some shame and guilt around that. The saboteur is often the free spirit, the one who thinks that you can just magically manifest and can be avoidant with no aligned action. Yeah. So just kind of noticing your behaviors around that, right? Like I've seen this before actually, where there's some unhealthy spiritual beliefs in, I guess, around manifesting and just thinking that things can just magically appear, which is just not the way that it works. And there's a lot of performance, like it's going to be so great. And no, it's a balance. It's a flow of taking aligned action through clarity and having support to aligning to your values and opening up to receiving what it is that you want. Okay, so 5th is physical touch. I think I said the last one was number 5, but now we're actually on number 5, physical touch. A healthy love language, physical touch to money is you can hold money, whether in your account or physically. You can save money. You can spend wisely. You also invest wisely. You celebrate and acknowledge personal wins. You reward yourself when goals or intentions are met. You intentionally track and you're grateful for receiving and spending. You value luxury and sensual experiences. First class, comfortable sheets, nice car, comfortable clothes, you like texture and quality. You appreciate nice things. This is part of your value. You're good at receiving love and support because you like the value. The value for you comes in the quality of a product sometimes or the quality of a relationship. Unhealthy is not grateful for the income experiences or the material things that have come with your income. You spend immediately and unconsciously, so unconscious spender, on probably physical things that don't bring you joy, but you probably think they will in the moment. You feel disconnected because you don't track, you're not intentional with your money, you're guarded, and you don't trust easily. Because physical touch, one of the needs is often safety. So it's just another way. It's a person who's very guarded. So they could be the performer. They could put on a show like everything's great, everything is awesome. Or they can just be very guarded in all ways, right? Like not letting people in, not good with vulnerability, not trusting people, very guarded. You struggle with intimacy and vulnerability. You hold on too tightly because you have beliefs in scarcity. So again, you can kind of see how this comes full circle to what we've been talking over the past few weeks. Scarcity consciousness lacks trust, and prosperity is the embodiment of trust. Struggles with intimacy and vulnerability, so struggles with receiving. The money saboteur is often the tyrant who's controlling, or the saver who's also controlling. So the tyrant or the saver. So if you don't remember those, go back to week 2, where we understand your money origin story and the blocks and the fears, where we go through the 7 money saboteurs. All right, so amplifying your prosperity consciousness. Today we covered the money love languages. I shared with you some ways to get some extra meditations on prosperity and abundance. And yeah, that's going to complete us for this week. I look forward to supporting you next week. I'll just leave you with this journal prompt. What happens when I set myself free? When I befriend the mind, open the heart, and trust more and welcome prosperity. So we're just constantly building that embodiment of trust each week. Hopefully by now you have some understanding of your relationship to money and through a love language. And then to move forward and into alchemizing next week, I just want to invite you to shift into the energy of what happens when I set myself free. Befriend the mind, open the heart, and trust more to welcome prosperity. And that is where we will begin next week as we move into week 7, which is alchemizing your worth to wealth. So join me again next week. Thank you so much for joining again. I hope you all have a wonderful and prosperous and beautiful day. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.